Yeah, and I think that's mostly for me. I had a lot more rules, and I had a lot more of, I never want to do that. I never want to. But I've also opened myself up to things that I would say, like, oh, I never want to do, and I've done them, and I'm like, that was so amazing. So, yeah, that is my new mantra, like, never say never.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from across the entire spectrum of non-monogamy to hear their fascinating stories. We strive to bring guests on the show who have a healthy approach to non-monogamy. However, it's important to remember that everyone does it a little bit differently, and the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we produce this show for entertainment purposes only, or at least we try. Please be aware that we aren't doctors or therapists and that you should consult the medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 65.
Yep.
What was that?
I was thinking about, like, when in soccer they say, like, goal.
No. Anyway, we're Finn and Emma. Hi, everyone. And today we have an awesome interview with J and K from That Couple Next Door.
Which is a podcast.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people
it's a lifestyle swinger podcast.
Oh, it's a swinger podcast.
Yeah.
All right. So I know a lot of people like to skip over sometimes the other podcaster interviews that we do. Maybe not everybody, but some.
Some people maybe. But...
I would say this one's worth sticking around. They all are, but this one it's still pretty awesome.
Also, listen to our intro here because there's some important information.
Yes, so heads up, ears up. Basically, what has happened if you are not in the Twitter sphere, or if you're not like close followers of That Couple Next Door, basically they have put their show on pause for a few reasons, and they asked us to play. First of all, we talked to them, we reached out. And they said, we definitely want you to still share the interview, which is, we're super grateful for that. Mm-hmm. So thank you to them. And they also asked us to play this little excerpt that they recorded last night for us. So We will put it right here.
Hi, I'm Jay.
And I'm Kay.
And we're That Couple Next Door. As many of you know, our podcast has recently been placed on pause. We're in a situation where we fear that we could be outed potentially by colleagues.
It's a reminder that consensual non-monogamy is still not widely accepted.
Unfortunately, that's true. However, we've had such great fans over the 3 years or more that we've been doing this, and we don't want to just abandon you, and we really would like to continue to share our story. So, for now, we will release our content through Patreon. So if you go to patreon.com/thatcouplenextdoor, you'll be able to keep up with our monthly podcast. Until then...
Thank you for sticking with us, and have a red light night.
Not sure what that taser noise was real quick there before we cut away, but we wanted to reassure everyone we are okay and we were not electrocuted during the making of this podcast. Probably didn't need to actually pause since we can just cut the audio. Good thing we paused though. So there was one thing that they wanted us to mention on top of that.
The episodes that they have on Patreon are actually free. So you don't need to pay. You can go and make an account and sign up and get the episodes for free on Patreon.
Yeah, so it's just sort of relocating the platform. This isn't like a money grab thing where they're like, we're exclusive on Patreon and you have to pay us a ton of money to listen to our thing. That's definitely not what they're going for here.
Nope, they're trying to get a little more privacy at the moment.
They also asked us to make sure that we conveyed their heartfelt gratitude to everybody who has supported them over the last few years, and they just wanted to once again say thank you to all of their supporters and all of the fans. And then one other thing that was in their email, I'm going to read this.
Okay.
Says, don't share this with the listeners, but it really upsets Kay when people or guests come on and refer to Finn as being similar to Ross, when he is clearly much more of a Bradley Cooper / Chris Hemsworth sort of hybrid.
I'm pretty sure you just made all of that up.
I'm reading it right here.
It's not in that email.
I'm reading it right here.
I see the email in front of you. It is not there.
So anyway, thank you, Kay. I appreciate that, and I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Just to be fair, you can be anyone. You don't have, but you do have some similarities to Ross. That's
We've got to get through this intro.
Not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. You got to own it.
We got to get through this. You were called Lady Gaga when we were in Bolivia by one of the Bolivian workers. How did that make you feel, Lady Gaga?
I don't know. I wasn't that upset about it.
Well, not after he called me Nicolas Cage.
I know, exactly.
So anyway, yeah, Chris Hemsworth, Bradley Cooper, hybrid.
There could be a lot worse than Lady Gaga.
We've got to get on with the show.
Okay. And that's just because I was tall. That's all he was basing it on.
And I think it was the only American celebrity he knew.
Exactly. That was a woman. That or Britney Spears.
So anyway, and...
You got us way off track with that.
I did. It was Kay's fault.
Yeah.
So again, thank you to them for sharing this, and thank you to you for listening and supporting them through what they're going through right now. We're excited to hear that hopefully they bring it back in the future because we love listening to them, and they put out a lot of great information. Quit laughing.
No,
that was heartfelt.
No, I know it was. I'm laughing because it was awesome. Good job. It was. Seriously, I think it's awesome.
Anywho, so one thing we did last week, we wanted to put out another call for anyone who has used really any of the links that we have in our resources page, but specifically the stdcheck.com. We used it for the first time a few weeks ago after having talked about it for a while, and we had a really good experience, and we wanted to make sure everyone else who's used it has also. So give us a call. Not really a call, but there's a little record button on the contact page.
Record us a message on our website.
Yeah, and that way we can try to get more people using it and more people getting tested and so on and so forth.
Our website is normalizingnonmonogamy.com or nnmpodcast.com, and you can find us under the Contact Us page, or you can find that button to record a message. Also,
we're going to Atlanta.
Poly Weekend in 2 weeks, June 4th to 7th.
No, June 7th to the 9th. But you almost got it. I mean, you're in the right month.
I was thinking about something else. June 7th to the 9th, yes, in 2 weeks. We're very excited about that. If you're going to be in Atlanta, let us know. Yeah,
we're going to have a little booth there, a table. We ordered a flag that we're going to hang. It's going to be cool.
It's not a flag, it's a banner.
A banner. It could also be a flag if you put it on a flagpole.
And it's a little long, but you could try.
That's what she said. Anyway, we'll be there giving out some free swag and hanging out with everybody. Yeah. So stop by and say hi.
We're super excited to meet everyone. Can't wait.
Stop by and say hi.
Now you're going to start impersonating Ross?
No.
That was it.
Last thing.
Wait.
I said last thing.
Yeah, it is the last thing. I was going to say it.
Well, I'm waiting.
Finn has decided that he's not the biggest fan of our music.
Hold on. That's not true. Here's what happened. Well, a year ago-ish, when we started this podcast, we went on the search for like kick-ass free music, which is probably exists.
But very hard to find.
So what I determined was...
we determined.
Yeah. What we determined was it's way easier to find really corny music that's free. And then when people are like, your music's corny, you're like, it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
So that was my solution to that.
Our music has always supposed to be goofy and funny. There's no seriousness about it. But that's because we cover a lot of tough topics in these interviews. We want it to still be lighthearted and have fun too. So,
long story short, we wanted to also put out a request. If there's a listener or a group of listeners that likes to create music and you would like to create some new intro and outro music for us that you would want us to use, we would love that. And we would put it in there and we would give you credit for it and all sorts of thank yous, and we'd probably send you some cool stuff like free condoms and lube.
Yeah.
So
send us what you think. If you have any ideas out there, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. If not, we'll keep using the clown music.
I like the clown music because I think it's
I know you
fun.
do, but we have certain listeners who it's scarring because it also plays on multiple Thomas the Tank Engine YouTube videos.
I know. That's
every time it comes on, they think of their kid.
To be fair, we didn't know that it was also on Thomas the Tank Engine when we chose it for this podcast.
Yes.
But
Anyway,
let's go to the interview so they can actually hear what J and K have to say.
Oh my god.
that was how we started our day.
Egg slapping.
Now you're making me cry again.
And it's recorded.
Whatever.
We can include that in
No, we're not including that.
Oh yes, that's the best.
Okay, well, that's a good transition.
Now that I'm like crying.
Sniffling from all the laughter.
All right. You want me to go?
Okay.
Get your shit together. We're professionals here.
Get your shit together.
You ready?
Sure.
All right.
All right.
Now that we're all adults,
Compose ourselves.
compose ourselves.
Ooh, breathe.
All right. So, J and K, couple next door. That couple
I
next
was saying, you didn't mess up their name already.
That couple next door.
Okay, we're done.
So, yeah,
Kidding.
finally, we're able to link up. It's been a long road to this point, but thank you for coming on and supporting us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for your patience. Our schedule is something to struggle with, I guess, from time to time.
Yeah, we get busy.
That's
Well,
okay.
ours doesn't. So it's
Ours
totally
is a little crazy too.
Yeah.
But we made it happen. Yes.
We're happy to be here.
We've been wanting to come on your show for
Yeah.
a while.
I love your podcast.
I do remember listening to, I want to say it was between 16 and 18 episodes all at once when I was in Germany recently, and I was driving actually down to Austria for that hotwife date that I had, and I just was binging you guys, and I was like, man, this is a great show. I love how everybody's story is so different, and they all contribute to this, I guess, taking away the stigma of non-monogamy being bad and
The differences
or
of it, too.
unacceptable
Yeah.
in society, I guess. So it was really cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. We
Yeah,
appreciate
that's
that.
amazing. And that's why we did the show too, to try to get the word out. And by the way, we also love your show. It's super sexy and
Well,
fun to listen
I
to.
was going to say, you two are some of the OGs, right? I mean, you
We're
go-
the OGs.
you
I
go-
don't think so.
Are we?
I don't think so. I think you have to really think about Swinger Cast, and they had really the original
Yeah.
show that was, I guess, similar to ours, right?
Mhm.
Where they just would tell stories and share their experiences, and it was very sexy to listen to. And when we first found them, actually, I remember the very first time we ever listened to them, we were like, I don't really like this. I don't really like the sexy voices that
Well,
they're
I was
using."
like, yeah, her voice is just too sexy for me. I don't know.
Yeah, which I guess is a weird complaint. But
I know.
Well, I think, but I mean, you've been around a while. What is it, 4 or 5 years? It's not like you're brand new.
I think,
Have we?
I think 3 years.
3 years.
Well, I
About
should
just
do
a little
some
past 3 years.
I know. I still consider
Or
us
it could be
newbies.
4. No, I think you're probably right. Here's the sad thing.
We have no idea.
Well,
You know,
None of
like
us
when you
know,
forget
so let's
how
just
old you
say
are.
3 to 5 years.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Spend
that.
some
That
time.
sounds safe.
Well, I think
Yeah.
maybe for anybody who doesn't know who you are, that should go check out who you are. Maybe give a little rundown, and then we'll tell our version of our experience listening to your show the first time, because I think it's one of my favorite stories.
Shit.
Great.
Yes.
Well, we are J&K, and we are in our young 40s. Sadly, we were in our 30s when we started podcasting.
I was going to say, I'm in my young 40s.
And we are just regular old people. We think of ourselves as that couple next door. We live in a suburban neighborhood.
Yeah, nobody would ever guess that our dirty sex life.
Yeah. I don't know about dirty. I think it's healthy.
No, I like that. I like that it's dirty.
And we essentially started out by having this thing we did in our bedroom, and it was the red light. It's where our podcast came from. We sign off by saying, have a red light night. And honestly, for the first 10 years of our marriage, I don't think you ever said no to me once in terms of, hey, do you want to have sex tonight? How about a blowjob? You always said yes. And I remember the first time you said no, it kind of took me by surprise.
Tears were in your eyes.
And I was like, hey, wait, what'd you do with my wife? But we came up with this thing where, like, if one of us really wanted to have sex that night, we had a red light bulb in our bedroom. And if we turned the red light on, then it meant, hey, this person really needs physical intimacy of some sort. So it was like a signal that it was going to happen. And I used it more than she did.
Of course. Yeah.
Well, but it doesn't sound like there was necessarily an imbalance, right? It was just one was more of an instigator than the other.
Yes, he's always been the one that's been more of an instigator. But
True.
once you start, I get going. Yeah.
I can relate to that too, because a lot of time it's hard to get started, but once I'm into it, it's like, oh yeah, hell yeah, let's go. But
right, I'm the same way. Like, I'm not so much of I don't initiate as often, but once I start, yeah, I'm very much into it. Yeah. Our sex life was always really good, I think, and I think you're talking about just a little bit of a lull we were having. I mean, we had the third child at that time.
Yeah, so. I should put context to that. This was like in the middle of having 3 children.
Yeah.
And
busy lives. So you're trying to kind of spice it up a little bit again.
Yeah. And we've been together over 20 years now. We've been married it'll be 19 in October.
Yeah.
And it's been fantastic. We've always felt that we had a really healthy sex life. And this is something that has really kind of enhanced it in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
And this being non-monogamy of some flavor, I would assume, unless you're on the wrong podcast again.
No, yes, your assumption is correct.
Yes, correct.
And I guess what was the...
Well, before you said you have a story to tell.
Well, I'm not ready yet.
Okay. Then go ahead.
We got to keep them on the edge of the seat.
I'm excited to hear this.
So, what was the impetus or the catalyst behind you deciding to start exploring it? If you were having basically unlimited amounts of sex, other than the one time
with the red light.
What caused you to want to open up and branch out?
I'll give this to you. I think throughout our whole marriage, he would kind of say these things. I'd have a friend over, like, well, maybe she would be into having a threesome, or maybe he'd have a friend over, like, would you want to suck his dick? Do you find him attractive? And I would always, no, and say no.
Really fantasy talk, though.
Yeah.
Just kind of exploring what her limits were, because let's be real, you were a swinger in high school.
No.
I mean,
I was a virgin.
Well,
I was a virgin.
You were like a weird virgin that had anal swinger in high school.
Okay, yes.
I think we need a little bit of elaboration.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, we need a little context.
So I had a boyfriend all throughout high school, and I think it was our second year. I dated him for 4 years, and our second year we started to really talk about having sex. And then I had a friend who got pregnant, and she was kind of like this girl that nobody would even suspect getting pregnant. And I was like, well, we can't have sex. I was just like, no, we can't do that. And so then we started talking about anal sex, and we did that, and I really liked it. So I guess it was the fear of getting pregnant for me. Yeah. It was never a religious, it was a huge fear. And so I really liked what we were doing. So it was satisfying me, and I don't know.
And then there was a time, the reason I'm saying that you're a swinger in high school is there was a time when you and your boyfriend...
No, this was another person. This was after high school. Maybe it was in high school. I had just broken up with him. Okay. Anyway, we were at my friend's house, my best friend, and she was dating somebody, and I started seeing another person, and we were all in her room. It was a party, and we were just making out and doing stuff with the person we were with, and then the guys were like, we should switch. And we were both like, sure. So we started making out and giving blowjobs to the other guy. So it was, I guess that's what he's talking about.
And so I think what that led to is when we were together, I was really kind of the opposite. I was a super nerdy, straight-laced guy who fantasized about things like this, but never really I never had that exposure in any social situation to make it happen, or I just failed to make it happen for myself because I didn't have those kinds of, skills, I guess. But I would hear these stories, and it made me so turned on that it kind of propelled those questions in our marriage, where I'd be like, hey, do you think this person's attractive, or do you think this person's attractive? And it led to a lot of fantasy talk.
Yeah.
Based on her past, I think.
Right.
So there was never really, when you learned about these things, Jay, there was never really any jealousy or concern. It was more of a
100%
quite the opposite. Yeah. Quite the opposite.
Very, very turned on. In fact, there was a time when I was away from home for a year, and I was, at work and gone. And there was a time when we would chat back and forth on like Yahoo Messenger at the time. And she was
dating ourselves.
Yeah. And our sex was her telling me these really sexy encounters that she had while she was in college, and, like stories of being at a frat party and traveling to Myrtle Beach with someone, and all these really hot, sexy stories, and I would eat it up. And that really fueled my desire, I think, to initially set the stage of what would be now like the main turn on that I get from like the hot wife scenario or something like that.
Right.
And so how did you go from fantasizing about it over AOL trial discs to to actually like putting it in practice? Like what?
Gosh, it took years. I think you started to listen to podcasts.
Yeah, podcasts helped.
Yeah, it was podcasts. But at first he presented me with the idea of putting ourselves on Craigslist and like, let's find a guy on Craigslist. And I was like, no way. I don't feel comfortable with that. I don't feel safe. And then we started to listen to.
We didn't know that there were sites out there. We didn't know that there was a whole swinger community.
Yeah, I didn't even know what it was, like what this lifestyle like was all about. And then I found myself getting really into the stories because he would listen in bed and I would just turn over like, I'm not interested. Like, I don't understand this. I don't understand like why they would want to do this. And then I found myself getting really turned on, but I wouldn't really tell him about it. Like, because I think I was nervous. Like, oh, once I tell him, he's going to like really want to do this. And I don't know if I'm ready.
Yeah.
But then
we started out by listening to the Curious Couple podcast, and they tell sort of a story-based, I guess their show is similar to ours, right?
Yeah.
And then we started listening to them. We really liked it, but then we discovered Swinger Diaries, and they're the how-to. Their early episodes gave the step-by-step of, hey, this is how you create a profile, and this is how you do this or that. And
super helpful in the beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I saw them as this like connected couple that just because they were into this lifestyle, it didn't damage their relationship. So I was like, well, they're telling you to go to this site to do this. Let's do it. And the minute I said, let's do it, he was downstairs, like a profile was up. we were a go.
Yeah.
Let me show you our 7 profiles on these different websites.
Yes. We were a go. Yeah.
And so I think how long ago was that?
I was 39.
That was 3 to 5 years ago.
Okay. 3 to 5 years ago. Perfect.
It was basically 3 to 5 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I could remember exactly when. You'd think you would know your own swinger story better, but
sometimes it blurs together.
Yeah. I think it was just close to 4 years ago.
Oh yeah. I was 38. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I guess what did the first steps look like? I mean, there's more to it than just step 1, create profile. Step 2,
chat with people.
Well, getting lots of dicks is easy. Doing it the right way is the hard part.
We did not do it the right way. We sucked.
We jumped at the very first bite, and we went out and met this couple, and
we were like, oh my God, people want to fuck us?
Yeah.
Like, we were so surprised.
We weren't even really attracted to them.
No, not at all. But we didn't know what else was out there, I guess. We didn't know.
We were impatient. We kind of just wanted to explore and see what it was like. So it was almost more for us than it was for the other couple.
Yeah.
But it ended up being sort of a disaster.
It was an utter disaster. Like, I don't even know who could actually come back from that disaster, but we did somehow, some way.
I think that fear of missing out is really
I think
prevalent in the beginning, and not like missing out, but
it's
like
the surprise, right?
Right,
that you
it's not going to happen again.
This is our the scarcity. Like, this is the only time we'll ever get to do this.
Yeah,
I think that's what we thought. Yeah, and I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know what a swinger. I just didn't know what it was supposed to look like, and so it was exactly that.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll get to what it's supposed to look like, but maybe before that, this is probably a good lead into my favorite story of yours, which is actually kind of it's funny. Like, we listened to your podcast when it first came out, and we heard your first couple episodes, and you can maybe take us through why it was a disaster. But actually, we stopped listening because
we actually stopped listening to pretty much all swinging podcasts.
Yeah, we shifted our podcast way, but we're like, man, these people are crazy. I don't think this is I don't think this is good for us to listen to. So we didn't listen, and then a little while back we started listening again. I'm like, okay, they know what they're doing.
It was like they got
their shit together.
And then I'm trying to do yard work with a boner because I'm listening to these episodes. So you've definitely, and not that the first ones were bad. It was just we were like, oh boy, I think they're in trouble. But,
yeah. No, a lot of people were very concerned for us. For
Mr.
sure.
and Mrs. Jones, who they have a really popular podcast. We got a thing.
Uh-huh.
They live near us, and so we went and hung out with them, and they have been gentle mentors.
Yes,
and have coached us through. Definitely in the early stages, they were very helpful to us. So.
Right.
So what happened on that first one? Because it's actually quite funny, in my opinion.
Okay. So we met them at the
local
bar. Pub.
Drank too much. I'll give the quick version.
Yeah, the quick
Drank
version
too much.
is fair.
Yeah, and when we made it back to they invited us back to their house, and
right. But as we're driving to their house, we both look at each other, and I said, "Are you into her?" And you were, what'd you say?
I was like, no.
And then you asked me, and I was like, no. But then we
We're like,
proceeded.
well, why are we still driving there? Why are we going there?
Oh no, we didn't just. We stopped at the local Walgreens and picked up a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
And then we proceeded to go to their house. Yeah.
And so a few things happened there that were kind of, unusual in swinging, period, never mind for a first encounter.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of the things that they got off on was jealousy. And so the lady, when it came time that we were going to go into the bedroom and play, because we were all, I guess, a little too much liquid courage.
I didn't realize how drunk I was until we got up, and I was like, babe, I kind of yelled it. I'm like, you need to go fuck her. I'm like, you need to fuck her really good. And then I was like, did I just say that?
Yeah, you did.
Did I just say that?
So it was kind of weird the way that they angled themselves. She was on the bed and she didn't want you to be on the bed.
No, so I was on the floor like a dog. I was not allowed on the bed. So I have to say that this man was gracious. He was, every step of the way, he would ask, can I kiss you? Can I touch you? Can I do this? So he was gracious. So I felt comfortable with him.
Yeah.
But she was not so much.
No. She's on the bed telling me, she's like, I want you to tell me that you love me. And I'm like, I just met you. There's no way that I'm telling you that I love you. That's not a part of our play. I can't do that. And she's like, oh, but we get off on jealousy and I want him to hear you say that to me. I'm like, I can't do that. That's not going to happen.
Meanwhile, I'm on the floor.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, have you guys discussed any of this stuff before you got into the bedroom?
No.
Okay. So they just kind of, surprised you with it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, the guy does this famous pillowcase move, which
I just hear whoosh, and then he wraps it around my waist and just proceeds to fuck me.
Yeah, so she's in doggy style. He rips the pillowcase off, slings it under her, and he's using it as leverage to pull her back.
I remember thinking, wow, this is amazing. This feels really good. And then it just didn't feel good anymore.
And then you got nauseous and you vomited on their carpet.
Red wine.
On their beautiful white plush carpet. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the guy's like, something's wrong with your wife. I jump off. We're both standing there side by side with condoms hanging off of our dicks, and our dicks are going limp, and we have a steam cleaner and we're cleaning vomit off of this carpet.
Yeah. And you get me in the shower, clean me off, and she's laying on the bed "Aw, you guys gotta go."
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So they were kind enough to give us a Home Depot bucket. Actually, here's trivia for anybody that listens to this. It actually was not a Home Depot bucket. It was a Lowe's bucket, but it just Home Depot rolls off the tongue better. But we want to have fair marketing for everybody.
Well, I guess so. First, thank you for because again, my point wasn't to force you into telling your worst night in swinging history, but
it was night one was the worst.
but I think there was a lot of things that you probably learned out of that night that maybe would be useful for people to take away that.
Red flags to look for when you're not in a comfortable situation to get out of there before you get as far as you are.
Yeah, and
of course.
And probably discussions you had about it afterwards that were spurred on by this, and maybe if you're okay sharing some of those to maybe help people that have found themselves in that situation or don't want to.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of been the way that we have approached our podcast now, is we tell the story of what happened, and sometimes it's sexy and sometimes it's not. And then we just try to incorporate the conversations that occur because of that, or whatever happened. What did we do right? We had a really positive event or situation, and how did that come to be? What did we do to make it a good thing? Versus when something goes wrong, we'll talk about, usually on the podcast, of why we think it went wrong. And sometimes it's with the help of listeners who will email us and say, hey, we listened and we couldn't help but want to share this or that. And people have really helped develop us, I think, as better communicators and better swingers, really. So,
but he was asking, like, what did we talk about immediately following this?
Yes, go ahead.
Well, I woke up fairly late. And honestly, like, hungover. I was a little hungover, and I remember waking up and I'm like, oh my gosh, like what did we just do? And how did it get there? And we instantly just started talking.
Yeah, we spent the whole, probably the next week.
And I think you thought, like, oh my God, this is never going to happen again. And honestly, I didn't know if it would either, like, because we were so bad at it. It's like, we're so bad at it. How are we that bad? And then this was the first man I had ever had sex with, aside from you, vaginal sex. So that was a big deal.
True.
Yeah.
I think we talked about how we could communicate better to avoid getting into a situation that we weren't both into, right? There's always the nobody takes one for the team that you hear about a lot in the lifestyle, but we definitely both, I guess, took one.
On the ride over there, we both asked one another, like, what are you into her? And are you into him? And we both said no. We should have just left. We should have just texted them and said, oh, we're going to go home. It was nice meeting you, and called it a night, but we just proceeded to go on. So that was the first mistake.
Definitely.
Yeah. And also it sounds like, in the moment too, not being afraid to stand up for yourself too. That's really hard to do, but when you're uncomfortable in a situation, trying to get out of it is not easy, but sometimes you have to do it.
Right. And we've definitely learned that. We've done that.
And it's great too, because a lot of our friends now that live near us and that we travel with frequently, they're very good at being upfront and saying what they do and what they don't want. And we've learned a lot of techniques from them. And we found that it's just really easy now to be honest and upfront.
Without hurting the other people. Yeah, without hurting. And I would also say alcohol. That was a huge mistake on my part that night. I was certainly nervous and wasn't realizing how much I was drinking. And I think it happened one other time, but that was out of just pure having fun with this person, but it hasn't happened since. So certainly alcohol. Yeah. Keep track of that.
That's a big one on our end too, is we most of our really bad experiences have come from somebody being too drunk. Whether it was on our end or on their end, it never works. I don't know.
It does not work. No. Yeah.
And so leading up to that, I mean, you went, on your very first experience, you went straight for the, as they say, the full swap, right? Was there discussion about that, or were you just kind of we're just going to go and we don't know what we're doing?
There was discussion. Yeah. We said we'll do soft swaps.
Yeah, the discussion was that we were going to very progressively enter the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right? So we were going to start out with maybe some voyeurism and check out, other couples, and then maybe soft swap, and then maybe full swap. But yeah, those discussions apparently were just a practice talk, because we just went straight in.
Straight in. Yeah.
So was there regret afterwards that you did that, and did you pull back and then ease your way back into it the right way, or how did you course correct?
Yeah. What was your transition
after the Lowe's incident? Sorry, Home Depot.
Honestly, there was a lot of regrets on my part. I felt how did we get there? So there was just a lot of discussion afterwards, lots of communication on our part. And ultimately we decided I do want to try this again. I want to do it the right way. We can do this better. And even though it was a very, the experience wasn't good, I feel we gained some sexy aspects of it. I mean, the pillowcase move was quite sexy, so I don't know.
What an optimist.
I'm an optimist.
Yeah, I was going to say, taking something good out of a horrible situation is a good thing to do.
And he was honestly he was a decent guy. He was nice. He was kind. So I'll take those two good things. But ultimately, we just wanted to try again to see, or to know that we could do it better.
Yeah.
And since then, it appears you have learned to do it much better.
Yeah.
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 Now we have really a dream life in terms of non-monogamy. We've made great friends. And that was something that when we first joined the lifestyle, we were kind of against. We were so scared about stigma about swingers that we didn't want to have anything near our children. In fact, early on, somebody once on a lifestyle profile said, "Hey, why don't we all meet at this winery and we could just bring our kids?" And I remember
that was mostly me.
Kay was like, "No way,
kids around swingers?
Yeah,
how dare they ask that?"
And now, I mean, we just went on vacation with our lifestyle friends to Peru and brought our children. And it's been such a transition into normalizing our lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
It's been great. We have found that these people that we connect with through the lifestyle are just some of the most genuine and kind and friendly people that we could ever have dreamt of meeting. And we feel really lucky to have them in our lives. And that has also helped us communicate our feelings, because now we have this home base. So let's say that we do go out on a date and things do go bad. We have our friends to turn to and say, "Guys, you're not going to believe the shit that happened. And this is
and vice
what
versa.
went down."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so it's really nice because we have the sounding board of like-minded friends, and that has helped our personal growth as well.
Yeah, and it's huge, too, for your confidence, I think, when you find like-minded friends that you can confide in and have those somewhat awkward but also hilarious conversations with and not be judged for it. It's huge.
Well, we judge a little.
Well, that's the fun of it. Yeah.
But we'll say it to our face.
Yeah, we'll be, "Oh, you guys aren't going to believe what happened to this couple. I told you not to be with that couple." Just kidding.
Following up on that a little bit, are you two out to anybody, or does your other people not in non-monogamy know anything about the other side of you?
I'll let you answer that, because you're the one that's come out.
At this point, we're pretty much out to all of our friends that mean anything, to be honest. Vanilla friends. My brother knows. My sister does not. My sister is super judgy.
Well, I think we're out to people that we know would take it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most recently, a month ago, I came out to one of my colleagues and mentors and a longtime friend, and he was like, "Yeah, I pegged you for that a long time ago." So
yeah, I was like, "What are we doing?"
It's really
to give off this
uneventful.
vibe.
Yeah. We have some other vanilla friends that we came out to, and then that night hooked up with. So that was interesting.
Yes.
And,
Hold on.
Yeah.
That's something that I think.
I don't think that's a good strategy. Maybe
I don't know. That's what I was going to ask. Do you recommend that strategy? Because
No.
Okay.
No.
We're still friends, and that was unintentional, and it was at a wedding.
Well, they flipped it on us. We revealed our lifestyle, our podcast, and they were like, "Wait a minute. We find you guys so attractive. You've been with other lesbians and not us?"
Yeah, this is a lesbian couple, and they were actually jealous that we were with other lesbians and that we hadn't proposed it with them.
Right.
And
so they kind of presented it to us. They said, "We want to be with you,
tonight. And we're like, "No, you need to think about
you
this.
need to talk this over." And we thought they did, but
a couple years ago. Yeah. And it was fine. We called them the next morning to make sure everything was okay, and it really wasn't.
Well, one of them had a better experience than the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so one was we finally met for dinner, and talked it out about a week later, and there were tears and there was regret from one of our friends, and the other friend was like, "Yeah, I would do it again tonight if I could." So,
but that friend is bisexual, actually, and the other one is not.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So
it was interesting.
dynamic.
It's a different dynamic for sure.
Right.
But we're still friends, and they won't listen to our show, but they know about it, and we just keep things very vanilla, I guess. I'm not sure how to
Well, you
say
still
it.
flirt and stuff, but it's very vanilla.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's just, I guess, for other people out there that want to come out to their vanilla friends. Maybe don't take the approach of trying to hook up with them, but I mean, I guess it can also happen and be fun, but I wouldn't recommend it as a strategy.
No.
What?
Again, learn from our mistakes.
We're not the how-to.
The how not to. Well, not necessarily. You've got some.
I was like, that's kind of harsh.
No, I wasn't. Come on.
It was a joke.
It's all good. We can take it.
I'm curious though, on sort of on that front, like you playing with another female couple. One then would assume that Kay, you started to explore your sexuality at some point in this journey, and I guess maybe can you take us through a little bit about things, whether it's sexuality or things that either of you have learned about yourselves that you wouldn't have known if you hadn't started going down this route?
I feel like I've always been attracted to other females. I never initiated anything with other females, but this definitely allowed me to a space where I felt comfortable in doing that, for sure. I rarely watched porn, but if I did watch porn, it was always with like another female. Like, so it was always lesbian type porn, I guess, and that would really get me off. So this was something that I felt this was the space where I could certainly explore that, and I have. And I found that I really enjoy other women. I enjoy kissing them. I'm not so much like as far as going down on other females. I enjoy it, but not as much as I like just kind of being pressed up against another woman and just kind of embracing them. So that's.
I can relate to that a lot, just to chime in. Just a woman's touch is very different. And
yes,
there's
soft.
something about that, that is very sensual and sexy.
Yeah.
What's the term for that? Northern bi?
We don't have to label it, but I enjoy other females, and I enjoy, like you said, just the softness, and that I like it. And I think you like watching me like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And any other things that, whether it's a sexuality or not, that either of you have discovered along the journey that you're like, oh, I never thought I'd be into that, or just revelations that you've had?
Well, for me, one of my biggest fantasies was always to see her with another guy. And I wondered how I would feel when I actually did see that. And it was not disappointing. It was as hot as I hoped it would be. And I always wondered if I would struggle with feelings of jealousy if I saw that, or, even the non-sexual aspects of that, like, her chatting with another guy leading up to an encounter or something like that. And it was universally sexy to me, and I was turned on by it. And I don't know if that was a surprise, because I imagined it would be like that, but it was almost good to know that there was some, I guess, positive reinforcement, or that the reality lived up to the fantasy. So that was really a cool thing that I learned about myself, is that, I really am turned on by this.
And I think you always felt like you had to suppress those feelings. Like you would kind of mention it.
Point.
You would kind of mention it with like close friends, like, oh, I'd really love to see Kay with another man. And they would kind of look at you like, you're strange.
Oh, one dude,
like, you're so
one
weird.
dude told me straight up, he's like, that's so weird, dude.
He's like, I don't understand why you would want that. And then being a part of this lifestyle, you felt more like you could be yourself, and you could express those things and feel okay with that.
I found my tribe.
You did. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I was curious on Kay's side, when you were about to start going down that road, I guess the hotwife route, was there hesitation on your end? Because I know that's something we've heard from people, and maybe even experienced ourselves a little, is the like, I'm afraid when we do this, it's not going to be what you think, so I don't really want to try and do this.
Oh, yeah.
I was totally hesitant, and I think that's why it took me so long to get warmed up to it, I guess. And we certainly went about this the right way. I went on Tinder, I chatted with men, and then I found a man that I felt comfortable with, and we both met him together. So, and we didn't play that night. And it was that night when I was like, he's really into this. I can tell that he wants this to happen. So that gave me, like, I felt okay with going further.
Yeah.
So that was I went to the man's car to say goodbye. And we were in the car, and Jay had gotten into our vehicle, and he backs up.
This is my least favorite story, by the way.
He backs our vehicle up so he's kind of facing me and the other gentleman, and we're making out and saying goodbye. And I get out of the car and I go over to my husband Jay, who has his dick out, and he's stroking himself in a parking lot at a local eatery. So
we're pretty classy people.
I'm like, okay. At first I was like, put your dick away, and then I was like, oh, he's into this. Yeah. And we both really liked this man. Yeah, we felt comfortable. So that's when I was like, okay, I'll move further.
Yeah, that happened.
That did happen. Dick out in hand.
I think there's nothing to be ashamed of there.
No, there's nothing. It's hilarious.
No, but that for me was very telling. Like, cause we were with other couples, and he would say, like, I loved watching you with this other man. But I didn't really, that was the moment where I was like, okay.
Yeah, well, it's always hard, and this is such a swinger problem, but it was always hard to watch you because I was always with another woman, and, you're trying to focus your attention and I don't want to be the guy that's with another woman, but I'm looking over at you. I think that's kind of rude. Whoever I'm with, I want to focus my attention on them.
You can have glances.
Oh, I do.
Like, if you're
I steal glances for sure, but
yeah,
well,
it's just different.
Has that impacted sort of your trajectory and how you play now as a couple, or have you been able to like find ways to incorporate all the different?
Yeah, well, I was going to say we know from listening to your podcast that you have transitioned to some separate play, so maybe
True.
Explain how that has evolved as well.
Oh,
yeah. Well, I guess our new mantra is never say never, right? Because early on, that was another one of the rules that we had, that we would never have separate play. And
yeah, and I think that's mostly for me. I had a lot more rules, and I had a lot more of, I never want to do that. I never want to, but I've also opened myself up to things that I would say like, oh, I never want to do. And I've done them, and I'm like, that was so amazing. So yeah, that is my new mantra, like never say never.
But we don't necessarily, I guess to answer the question though, it's more like a menu. So yeah, we still enjoy meeting other couples and like having that experience where you go out on a date and meet somebody. We enjoy going to house parties and takeovers and clubs and all of that stuff. In addition to the single male, actually we just had our first single female hookup, like the week before we went to Temptation.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're definitely open to all kinds of experiences, and whatever helps us feel sexy together in our bedroom, we consider that a win. And there's just so much, there's so many great sexy experiences out there to have. So we definitely don't close ourselves off to really anything.
Right. But for me, the separate play for you was a big deal because it wasn't necessarily like, I don't get off on Jay playing with somebody else, like he gets off on me doing it. So it's like a different experience for me. So that was certainly putting myself testing the limits, I guess. Because I was like, he wants me to have this amazing experience. I want him to, like, why am I not okay with him going out and having a similar experience? So the first time we did it, you were in Texas, and we were presented by a couple who wanted to play with you. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, let's do it.
And just jump in and see how you feel.
See how I felt. Yeah. And because I was actually leaving, I was coming home, and he was going to be there longer. So he had this experience, and I had not good feelings. So it didn't go as well as I had hoped for me. And I think it made you feel bad after doing it. Yeah.
Well, can you talk through a little bit how you worked through that? Because we know from listening to your show that you have since then had other separate play that seems to have gone better. And I think whether it's the woman who has a hard time with it or the man who has a hard time with it, like what steps did you take to work through that?
Well, it was interesting.
It started that night when I left the other couple's home, I called you, and it was probably around midnight, and I had about an hour drive from their place back to where I was staying, and we talked the entire drive, and I wanted to know how she felt and why she felt that way, and how I felt. I felt great. I had a really positive experience.
They were a great couple, and they really tried to make me a part of the experience, but I separated myself. Yeah. I didn't want to be. I didn't want to know what was happening. I didn't want to know the details. So yeah.
You definitely had, I don't want to use the word jealousy because I don't know if it was jealousy, but you felt uncomfortable about not being there, yet you didn't want to be part of it. And that's what I was trying to understand. I was like, well, you seem to be saying that you feel like you're missing out, but yet attempts to include you just rejected.
Right.
And so that was something that we had to try to work through. And I'm not sure that we ever came to a conclusion.
Well, actually, I ended up going on, you had videos of the experience.
Oh, that's right.
And I went on the computer and I was looking.
This is a couple weeks later. After
it was about a week later. And I was looking at other photos. And then I saw the photos from that night, and I'm like, I'm just going to click on it. And I clicked on it, and I was like, like, it's just like any other experience we've had, like with other couples. That looks fun. It looks nice. And all the like feelings I had, the negative feelings, just went away. And I remember texting you, and then what did I text you?
I was at work, and I got a text that said, I found the pictures and videos. And that was it. That's all the text said. So I'm like,
no, and I had like a winky face. Like,
no, there was no winky face. A winky face would have gone far to diffuse any emotions that erupted inside of me.
Oh, that's right.
No, so I was like, oh shit, am I in trouble? Like, how is this? Am I going to come home and we're going to have a big talk? Like, what's not that talking with your spouse is bad, but
yeah.
I was just.
You were nervous.
Nervous. And then finally another text comes through, and she's like, they were really hot, and I feel totally fine about everything now. And I was like, wow.
You're like, whoo.
Right.
So the moral of the story is just record all of your experiences and your wife watch them.
Yeah. Well, for me, it just made me feel just comfortable. I still don't find myself getting aroused when you're with other people, but I'm okay with this. Like I'm okay with you having a good experience without me there. So
yeah, and I can relate to that because I think it's a lot of the fear of the unknown, actually. Like. Because when she saw the video and pictures, you're like, oh, well, that's not what I had built it up into my head as. And,
correct. Yeah.
Just working through that unknown piece is tough sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what helped for me.
And then it sort of progressed. And I don't know, I mean, now we've had, recently separate country play, right? Where I was away and you had a hot wife experience while I was with another couple. Mm-hmm. And that was completely drama free. Actually, it was really fun. And, well, not completely because I did buy her some lingerie and.
Oh, the blue box.
It was for her birthday.
Yeah.
And you did not like that.
Nope. So. You never know what's going to spark something inside you. And that certainly did. Yeah.
Well, that was almost drama free, right?
Almost drama free. Yeah.
But I think that's pretty
remarkable,
minimal, and also it's a good learning experience, right? That you're like, if every time you did this it was perfect, we would stop growing, I think.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I was going to say. I'm like, we've certainly grown as a couple. Our communication is just so good.
And it translates out of the lifestyle. It's into our regular, talking about finances or planning things with the kids. It's our ability to talk to each other about anything is just so fluid now. And easy.
Nothing's off the table. We are very open and honest and
Have your kids or your family noticed any change in your relationship?
Not that they've told us, I don't think.
I don't think so. Because we always, throughout our marriage, we've always dated each other. We've always taken time to be like, hey, Friday night is going to be date night for mom and dad. And we've always had a babysitter. So in their perception, probably little has changed. We still go out, although now our date nights just happen to be meeting other people.
Yeah, they don't know that.
Right.
Right.
So, I don't think so. I don't think at this point there's anything that would be noticeable by them.
Yeah.
Except every time we move, we just happen to have like really great new friends.
Yeah. I was going to say that.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, the benefits of having community all over the world, I guess. Not even
True.
just in the States, but
Yeah, for sure.
And if anyone listens to our show, you know that we like to bring up the factor of safety and safe sex and handling that in a non-monogamous relationship. And we wanted to ask you how you approach that and the conversations that you have and how you keep yourselves protected.
So we're lucky enough to have, good health care. And so we just, I guess what we've been doing is we've been taking turns getting tested. So instead of like every 3 months, it'll be like, oh, I'll go get tested. And then the assumption is that since we have unprotected sex together, that if I'm clean, you are. And then the next time you'll get tested. And then we go back and forth that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's like the best strategy, but it works for us with our schedules.
Yeah, and sometimes
And then,
actually it's more cost effective to do it that way too.
Yeah. And then we always use condoms.
Always.
Except for oral sex, yeah.
There was an instance where a condom did break and I had to get tested earlier than usual. So I was upfront with my doctor for the most part.
Yeah.
I had said that we were at a wedding and we met another male and he became part of our sexual bedroom that night and a condom broke. And she was like, okay, cool. And I'm like, okay. But I was really like nervous and I was sweating and I was telling Jay, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to say these things. And you reassured me.
Well, because I went to the doctor the same day for the same thing, and it was a different doctor, and I had to tell the same story.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I was a little uncomfortable about it. And I wish I wasn't. Like, I wish that I was braver or somebody who just wasn't ashamed to say, yeah, we had a threesome with another dude and, he was having sex with my wife and his condom broke. But at that time, I just was really timid or embarrassed about it, I guess, which is really kind of messed up considering I have a sex podcast, but that's the truth.
It's hard to talk about those things though. It's not easy. And I have been in similar situations where you're trying to communicate something to the doctor and you're just sitting there sweating profusely and they're probably like, why is this person sweating so much?
That was me. Yeah, I was the same way. Yeah. But it was fine. And I know they can't sit there and judge you. I mean, they could, but she was very nice about it. She was fine. Like nonchalant, like, oh, okay. Well,
that's wonderful.
Yeah. She did not make it a big deal.
Yeah. Have you two ran into or experienced people in the lifestyle playing with condoms for oral sex?
Only once.
Yes.
So one of our friends, they are a couple, and they had a girlfriend for a while. I guess we can call her a girlfriend. Does that sound accurate? They had a play partner.
Yes.
Who was with them for a while. And she always insisted on using like dental dams or any kind like condoms for blowjobs. So when she was with them, that was her steadfast rule. And
one night they had to like make a makeshift one with like saran wrap. They were telling us.
Saran wrap can be very handy.
Yes, so they made one evening. But yeah, she always had something. She liked to be protected for all sexual encounters. Yeah.
But otherwise, no, that's the only time that we've seen that for oral. Yeah.
Right. We never played with her, but we've heard of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But we would play with her.
We would. Yeah.
We use any berry you want.
We have tons of saran wrap.
Yes. I just wanted to bring that up because I know there are people listening that are more comfortable using barriers for oral sex as well. And to hear that, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, I think it's helpful because I know there's a lot of people out there that don't use them for oral sex, but
and that the fear is if they bring it up that people are going to turn them down.
Right.
But
never, not for us.
Yeah. I think when you are comfortable, if you start with the approach of, hey, I want to have a sexy experience with this human being, whoever it is, and then you get to the point where they're like, hey, I want to share my body with you, but the way that I do that is in this manner, sure.
You respect that.
Yeah. I mean, if I want to, have some, I guess, sexy time with this person and that's their rule, absolutely.
Yeah.
Why not?
For sure.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And maybe just kind of transitioning into where do you two think you will take the journey in the future? Do you see, I mean, you've grown and changed a lot in 4 years. How do you, maybe predict
3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Sorry to paint you into a corner there.
I mean, we're just waiting for our syndicated show to be on HBO, and then no. So honestly, boy,
we're getting older, so I don't know if there's like a.
I'll be honest. We have actually talked about maybe bringing the podcast to an end here shortly, and kind of just going on, not necessarily getting out of the lifestyle. I think we would stay in the lifestyle, but things are about to get very busy for me in particular. We're moving. We're going from the East Coast to the West Coast at the end of May, and be starting a new line of work. And because of that, and because of time limitations, we're not sure if the podcast is going to be a sustainable thing. So we will either decrease the frequency with which we post, or we will just, I don't know, maybe go out in a blaze of glory or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
It could also be a pause. You never know.
Right.
Yeah, it could be. And we haven't announced this anywhere yet. We talked to some close friends about it. And I don't know what we're going to do. So don't panic if you're listening and you love the show. We haven't decided yet, but
well, I think what they should know though is that, Jay, you're transitioning to be a cam girl. So
that's right. So they can still find me. Send me your tokens or whatever.
And I'm behind the camera.
Yes.
She's working it.
Yeah.
I'm working it.
Well,
Yeah.
I was
But it's going to be
curious.
it's a niche thing though. It's only going to be for anal fisting. So, you know,
Well,
you
gotta
might
niche
lose
down.
my audience.
That's what they say. Niche down, niche down.
Yeah.
Don't yuck anybody else's yum.
That's
Yeah.
true.
I was actually curious, what were the reasons behind actually starting the podcast in the first place? Was it just to record your stories or just and find community?
Solely for fame and money.
Yeah, of course, right?
Well, we were on a road trip and we were just binging podcasts. We were just listening and listening. And I naive, I guess, in a way. I was like, oh, we could do this. We could do this.
Yeah.
And I said, we should document our stories. I'm like, just so we have them for ourselves, not thinking anyone would actually listen. And then we get home and you have a podcast up. You're like, we're up and running. And I'm like, how the hell did you do that?
You have to be careful what you tell me you want to do.
Yeah. So, we started recording
and we thought of it as, hey, we're new to this and there's probably going to be blunders along the way. And maybe people would just want to follow along and listen and
learn and
just follow our journey. And just like you did at first, you're like, I can't listen to these people. They have
gross.
some issues. But
we never said you were gross, by the way. We said it was
I know.
But that they would, I guess recognize that it's not all smooth sailing and people make mistakes and you can recover from those mistakes and you can grow in terms of how you, I guess, approach this to get out of it what you want to get out of it. Mm-hmm. We're at that place now where we can safely say that most of our experiences are very positive and are easy. And I think it's gotten there, because of the early growing periods, but it was just something that we wanted to share and thought people might enjoy following along with. So
well,
no other reason really.
Well, I think we all appreciate it, and maybe you set us up perfect for our blooper question.
I know. Well, they've already had some bloopers.
Yeah, I know. But I think it's fair now to say that you just said it's pretty smooth sailing nowadays, but I have to imagine there's still a blooper every once in a while, and it doesn't have to be a Menards bucket situation. I had to.
It was like it wasn't Menards.
I know. I'm trying to spread the love across all the major home improvement stores.
Well, we actually just had one, and we haven't even podcasted about it yet. It'll be on from this recent trip to Temptation, but we basically almost fucked up an orgy.
Nice.
We did? Oh, we did.
Yeah.
I did.
Somebody doesn't even know. She still doesn't know.
No, she's the problem.
I'm the problem.
Yeah.
I was missing my cover up, and we were supposed to walk to the place of where the orgy was happening. But I was so upset because I'm like, oh, I really love this cover up from Target.
And there was 4 couples.
Yeah.
No, or 3.
3 couples.
So 6 persons. So a mini orgy.
Mini orgy.
I don't know, 6 of them really. But we went back to their room and, Kay had been searching high and low for this cover-up, this $14.99 cover-up that she just couldn't lose. And then we show up to the room.
Well, two couples that have already been there, and they're in play. They're playing.
Yeah, they're already having sex.
And I walk in, and I'm like...
Oh, so there was 8 of us. I'm sorry. We're fucking up this story bad. But
you are, but
This is your most recent blooper.
Yes. I walk in, and I see my cover-up, and I'm instantly like, oh my God, there's my cover-up. And the lady there was one couple we didn't really know, and she was having sex with Nate.
Our friend.
And she gets up, and she's really angry at me. She's like, no, that's mine. And I look at her, and I'm like, no. That is mine.
Now these girls are starting this argument.
I want to fight her.
And which, is a boner killer, literally, right? Because you get the sympathetic nervous system going, and then you can't, you need your parasympathetic to get hard. Nerding out here, sorry. But then, so I'm in the shower, and because we were going to shower before play, and we're in there, and I was like, babe, can you just drop it? Can you let it go? Because it's really...
But I'm like, she's the one that stopped having sex to tell me it's not mine.
Just stop. Yeah. And so we're having this conversation in the shower, and then we come out, and the 2 of us are kind of off the bed in the corner, and there's 6 of them on the bed all going at it, and you're trying to give me a blowjob to get me hard, and I just cannot get there. And so I look down, and then one of the other girls comes over, and then she's trying to help, and now there's 2 of you experiencing my disappointment. And so... I don't know, my heart rate was still up, and I was just kind of like, I just couldn't get to that sexy place. So I leaned down, and I'm like, hey, let's go back to our rooms.
Yeah, because we wanted them to have a good experience.
Yeah, we didn't want to take away from their fun, and so anyway, we almost fucked up that sex scene, and we ended up leaving. But
did you grab the cover-up on the way out? Bonnie and Clyde
yes,
style?
I did.
Wait, not only that, the guy, after the argument started, the woman's husband got up to go get her cover-up from the pool and brought it back. Actually, he stopped eating Liv's ass to go get this cover-up.
Liv was like, this guy is leaving. He's like eating my ass out. He's going to get somebody's cover-up. Like, what is going on? And so, yeah, we were leaving, and I grabbed my cover-up.
She grabbed both.
And then I grabbed hers and like the guy's swim shorts. And I left and shut the door, and I'm like, oh shit. And Jay was like, you can't knock on the door.
Like, don't interrupt them again. Just leave it on the doorknob.
Leave it on the doorknob.
And so then we get these texts like, hey, did you grab her cover up? Blah, blah, blah. Like you did it on purpose. And
yeah.
It was awkward.
Bad.
I think the ultimate full circle would have been if you had texted him a picture using the cover up like the pillowcase.
Oh shit, that would have been great. That would have been great.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
so it's not always perfect.
No.
No, but I think we did well though. Like we left nice, amicably.
Yeah. I think we recognized that we weren't going to add anything to that sexy experience, so we should just leave.
We just need to leave.
And I think that is important to realize too, and get out of there before when you know you need to, and that is very hard to do too.
Yeah,
and because you don't want anybody to feel like disappointed or like, oh, why don't they want to be here? But it was really just us.
And I felt bad because I did want to, hook up with our friends during that trip, and we never did that.
No,
trip.
we did not.
Yeah. But
there's always the future.
Oh yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. I think they come home today or tomorrow, so we'll have to link up.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Is there anything else that we didn't cover that you two wanted to share?
Well, I guess we would just encourage everybody to, not to plug all the other podcasters, but there's so many out there, and there's so many different flavors of podcasts. And, if you are not somebody who listens to lifestyle podcasts, just go to, if you go to our webpage and you look at We Recommend, then you'll find bloggers and podcasters, and there's all kinds of variety out there for anybody that wants to listen. If you don't find our model of don't do what we do to be charming, then
but I think the point there is hearing other people's stories is a really good way to learn and realize that you're not alone.
Yeah. And if you listen to one podcast and you don't like it, go try another one, because there are a lot out there.
True.
And there are a lot of fantastic people working hard at it too and putting content out there.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for that as well.
Yes, and thank you for taking the time. We finally made it happen, and it was wonderful.
And
thank you.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Should we say goodbye?
Yeah.
And let them go back to their lives?
Yeah.
And we'll go back
I
to
guess
ours?
we gotta go. Yeah.
All right. Well, you two have a wonderful day. Enjoy the cold weather, although it's weird now for people listening to this because it's May and it's not cold, anymore.
We are recording this early on, or in the late winter.
Throes of winter.
Maybe they'll have a cold May day. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I hope not, because we'll be back in the U.S. at that point, and I do not want to be cold. So, all right. Well, you two go. We will go, and we will be in touch. And even if you don't have your show, you're welcome on ours anytime.
Of course.
Aw,
Thank
thank
you so
much.
Absolutely. Have a good day.
You
Have
too.
a red light night.
Okay.
Oh,
Have a red light night.
Nice. Welcome back, Lady Gaga.
You want me to start calling you Nicolas Cage?
I would prefer not.
Ross?
Also not. Remember, Chris Hemsworth.
You said Bradley Cooper at the beginning.
I said a hybrid. Chris
Okay.
Hemsworth, Bradley Cooper hybrid.
Okay, so how do you want me to...
Also, a little Ryan Reynolds.
Okay, yeah, true.
The-
So how do you want me to put all that into a combined name?
I'll work on that for next week's.
I'll work on it too.
Anywho, thank you, Jay and Kay, for sharing with us. We recorded this back in February, and we appreciate it.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
and we know that things, are a little up in the air with their podcast right now, and we just really are thankful that they wanted to go ahead and still publish this and share with all of you listeners because they have an awesome story and they're really amazing people.
Also, it's pretty ironic how much foreshadowing was in that episode without them even knowing. So
I know.
that was fun.
Yeah.
Well, not
fun, but
it's funny.
kind of crazy.
Ironical.
Yeah. Next week.
Wait, before we do next week, we wanted to tell people if they're looking to meet other open-minded people really quick, go download the app, #open. If you do and you join and you use it, $1 gets donated to Planned Parenthood, which is awesome. If you want to learn more about them and the founders and their story, episode 53 of our show will get you that information.
Yep.
Also, they were recently on Sex Out Loud with Tristan Taramino, so you could find them there too.
Yep. And next week we have an interview with a woman named Claire, and she reached out to us. She is poly, and
She's a pollinator.
yeah, that's what she called herself.
Also, I'm in the middle of editing the episode right now, and it's pretty kick-ass. Like,
It's awesome. It was an awesome discussion.
Like, she's an international aid worker who goes to basically war zones and does disaster relief work and manages to balance polyamorous relationships with people in languages that most of us have probably never even heard of, which is just phenomenal.
Fascinating.
So, come on back and listen in a week.
Yes.
You want to.
We'll talk to y'all then.
Oh, and tell your friends about the show. They'll love it.
Bye.